So, I welcome you all for this lecture 7 Introduction to Pest and Disease Management. So, I know in organic farming pests and disease management is one of the great challenge, because the increasing concentration of the pesticides, increasing use of the fertilizers. So, many of the pests and diseases they have become the resistance mechanism. So, how we can tackle the issue in organic farming? We can manage the pest and diseases, because they cause a huge damage to agricultural productions. So, in this lecture we will be discussing about the different pests and the diseases, their behavior, and what is the status of the pesticide use and the biopesticides in the market. So, coming first the typical sign of pest and disease incidence, we can see that this for the common pests in crop plants and the common diseases in crop plants. As you see the pests, usually insects, mites, nematodes, they are very common and they do make a severe damage to crop plants, and the mammals like the elephants and the monkeys, so many the animals, then say birds and the others. So, they do make damage in the crop plants, and the disease see there is a three main diseases due to fungal disease, or the bacterial disease, or the viral disease. So, we will see what are the major insect pests, especially the insects, mites and nematodes for the agricultural productions. So, they do affect the crop productions, and also we will discuss about the diseases, mainly fungal disease, bacteria and virus. They do have they do impact or they do affect the crop productions. If you see the insects, so insect damage mainly we have the on the basis of the feeding mechanisms, insects are classified as the biting or chewing insects. Those are the caterpillars and the weevils, and the piercing and the sucking insects, they are the aphids and cells. The boring insects, they do make the bore in the leaf or in the stems and the leaves seeds. They are the withered plants or biborers. So, what is see the biting and chewing. So, these are the caterpillar you can see. So, they do damage the leaves by making the holes in the leaves. They do, and also the weevils, they do chew the cell sap present in the leaves. So, they suck the cell saps. So, this type of damage you can see many crops, especially the cereal crops, pulses, oilseed, vegetables, even the orchard crops, where you can find the caterpillars or the weevils, they do make these serious damage in the production. The piercing and the sucking insects, they are mainly you can see the aphids or the scalades. So, the symptoms you can see, these are the aphids and the scalades, they can see they do suck the cell sap. They suck the cell sap, and the leaf may become whitish color, this chlorophyll, the devoid of chlorophyll, and they can become the whitish leaves. And the other type of insect, say boring, as per they do make the bores or the holes. So, this you can see the rice, these rice stubbles, that is the rice stem portion, and you can see this is the caterpillar, that is a borer, it's a stem borer, you can say stem borer this one, and this stem borer. So, that the punch the stems and make the holes in the stems. So, this happens usually in the rice when the tillering stage, at the maximum tillering stage. At that stage, this the stem borer, they do attack the tillers and they make holes in the tillers, punch the tillers. So, as a result of which the whole plant dies. So, these are the insects as per the feeding mechanisms, and also we have the insects that these are the some of the symptoms we can see as a leaves with the holes or by caterpillar, or the fruit, the gram pod borer. So, these caterpillars they make boars in the pods. So, they bring damage this one. Similarly, also boars they have the sugar cane the early stage they make this type of symptoms is there. So, they do punch the stem portions and they do damage these. So, that they once they make a damage. So, the movement of the transport of the water and nutrients from the soil to the plant system gets affected or the blocked. So, as a result of which the whole plant withers and dies because of the stem borer. So, some may have the curled leaves in case of the aphids because the aphids they remain inside the leaf and they make the curling of the leaves they remain there and they suck the cell shafts. And there is the damaged rotten fruits in case of fruit flies like the mango you have shown here. So, the fruit flies, so they do bring the damage make the damage in the fruit flies in the mango as you see this one. So, with the fruit flies also they can cause the damage. Then withered plants by larvae of Noctudius are the stem borers as I discussed the stem borers like in the either sugar canes or the pod borers or the rice stem borers they damage the stem portions. So, the once they damage to the whole plant withers and the holes in the trunk and stem of the lignivorous insects like the mango trunks. So, mango stem borers. So, they also may cause the damage to the stem portions or the orchard crops. So, there are some insects damage on the basis of movement of insect as classified as slowing as a caterpillar there is very slow movement or the fast moving the fruit flies as you discussed fruit flies they cause damage in the fruits they puncture the fruits and make the fruits rots and the caterpillar they very slow movements. And on the basis of ease of observance insects are classified as hidden means like stem borer in rice stem borer that remains that makes holes in the rice plants or the stem portions and remain inside suck the cell shaft and remain inside for longer periods as long as food is available there. So, in this process the whole plant withers and dies and some are the easy to observe like the caterpillars as you have seen the earlier caterpillars are the weevils. So, you can see they remain on the leaf portions and they do suck the cell shafts they do chew the cell shafts. So, these are the insects as they make damage either by the biting or chewing or the sucking or the piercing or by making bores in the stems. Damage by mites are very tiny and the microscopic organism is naked eye we cannot visualize those things. So, leaves and fruits become yellowish we can see the mites these are mites they can attack the leaf portions and that become the brownish they become yellowish colors due to mite attack. And the another insect pest damage is due to nematode also very small tiny and mostly the microscopic organisms. So, they remains in the soil. So, insects they mainly attack the roots. So, the attack the plant roots plant becomes yellow the plants withers and dies. So, here you can see the nematode attack the root portions. So, these are the see the shape of the due to the nematode attack the sometimes you rice if there is a nematode the roots become very strong also the growth of the nematode there. So, in this case also the plant wither wilts and also the plant dies. So, these are the some of the symptoms as you have seen due to the insect and most of the damage severe damage is caused due to insect pests. And if you see the disease incidence disease we discuss about the bacteria, disease due to fungal and also viral disease. You see bacteria they can cause the following problems. First of all some produce enzymes that break down the cell walls of plants this cause rotting. So, some bacteria they do produce some enzymes. So, they cause damage in the cell walls and the whole plants and dies like say moco wilt in banana. So, the bacteria they involved they cause the damage the cells and the whole plants dies. And some bacteria they do produce toxins which cause early death of plants. So, and also some produce sticky sugar substances that travel through the plant and block the narrow channels, preventing uptake of water and nutrients. So, this bacteria the sugar substances they produce inside the plant cells, and they so in the stem portion. So, there is a production of the sugar substance, they block the shafts, cell shafts, and the movement of the water and nutrients from the soils to the plant systems or the leaf or system gets blocked. In that way the whole plants dies. And some produce proteins and mimic the plant hormones, leading to overgrowth and say tumor also, that is due to bacterial disease. Like the extra growth in the potato, you can see that is due to the production of the proteins. So, that enhances the growth plant hormone. So, that causes tumor, and also the scab disease in potato. The scab disease means there is a brownish pithy appearance in the over the potato skin, top skin. So, it is brownish colors, and this also damages the whole potato fruits. So, these are the symptoms due to bacteria. So, mainly the bacteria they produce either the enzymes, they produce the toxin materials, or they produce the sticky sugars, they block the cell shaft, they damage the cell shaft, and they block the movement of water and nutrients in the plant to the plant systems, and some may produce the proteins or that causes the growth, that is leading to overgrowth of the crops, and that is a tumor formation. Coming to fungal disease, this because most of the crops fungal disease is very prevalent. So, it causes great loss, that around 2/3 of the infectious plant disease due to fungal disease. It includes all white and true rust, smarts, needle casts, leaf curls, mildew, sooty molds, and anthracnose. So, these are the some spots you can see here. These are the leaf spots or the powdery mildew, and the fungal disease also in case of rice, there is a blast disease also very common, very prevalent. Say oval shaped spots is a brown colors, oval shaped, and that is very common in rice crops. And this bacteria, this blast disease in rice, that cause that can happen in the leaf blades, leaf sheaths, and the panicle also, or in the stem portion also. So, that causes severe damage to crop. So, there will be, so if there is a disease, so it may not yield any grain in case of blast. And also they are responsible for most leaf, fruit, and flower spots, canker blights, wilt, scabs, and root rot. So, in some cases the plant fungal wilt, the plant withers and also wilt. So, mostly the among the diseases, the fungal disease is very severe, and about 2/3 of the disease is due to fungus. If you see the virus, it mostly causes the systemic disease. It shows chlorosis or change in color of leaves and other green parts, light green or yellow patches of various shades, shapes, and sizes appear in affected leaves. So, this is we are showing some symptoms of viral disease like the mosaic virus in chili. So, here the leaf color changes, and the most of the cases in viral disease, the top leaves becomes very small in size, and as compared to the bottom leaves or the middle leaves, the top is very small, and that also withers, and after some time the color also changes from the green color to yellow colors appearance. As you can see in here also, this curling of the leaves, and the top leaves becomes very small and thick also. So, that is due to virus. And some cases the yellow mosaic virus in case of the okra also is very common, where the leaves becomes yellowish colors, and also the top leaves becomes very small. And the viral disease that spread from one plant is infected by virus, that can be spread to other plants, and the carriers are the insects. If insects are present, they can carry this disease. And this is also the mosaic virus in case of the tomato, the discoloration of the changes from the fruits. So, these are the viral disease, also very difficult to control viral disease. So, in this case usually when you go for the chemical insecticide and pesticide, you apply the mancozeb or the medicine that can control the fungus. At the same time, to control the carrier insect also, we apply the insecticides along with the fungicides. So, crop losses due to pests and diseases, you can see the 33% due to rodents and the other mammals, there is a loss, higher loss 33%, and insects and the diseases, they have the loss around 26%, followed by weeds around 15%. And if you see the use of the pesticides or the insecticides, those are the synthetic insecticide pesticides or the biopesticides in the Indian market. Mostly with the maximum use is the insecticide. This also we have discussed in the first class. The insecticide use is the maximum, and followed by this is the herbicides. So, around the total insecticide pesticides 72 the chemical synthetic chemicals we are using, 72% is for the insect controls, the insecticides, and 19% or close to 20% for controlling the weeds, followed by fungicides, that is around 4%, and the others around 3%, and 2% is for the biopesticides. That means, the biopesticides the market is very mega insignificant, we can say now, because mostly the farmers are using the insecticides, the synthetic pesticides to control the insect, and the most of the chemicals are used for the controlling insects, followed by the weeds and fungus or fungal disease. So, now there is a to minimize the use of there is a need to minimize the use of chemical or synthetic pesticides, and to have the more and more biopesticide, so that we can have to improve the food quality and to maintaining similar level of productions. And if you see the effect of this synthetic pesticides on the as a social basis, we have this a study the pesticide dependence of smallholder vegetable farmers in Southeast Asia. So, here we have collected some information from Indian study and also from the Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. So, many farmers were interviewed in this case, because the farmers those have applied pesticides, after application what type of symptoms they do observe, they do complain. So, those study were there, and also the basic information we have collected also the how the use of pesticides among the farming community, that is associated with the other farmers, neighbors or the dealers or the shopkeepers. So, if you see the left hand, the farmers association and the chemical pesticide use. So, around 900 farmers were interviewed for this exercise. So, you can see if the farmers take advice from friends and the neighbors, the use of pesticides or the synthetic pesticide we are taking, that is lowered by 45%. So, look taking advice from the neighboring farmers or the friends, the farmer uses less and less pesticide, this around less decreased by 45%. Whereas, if the farmers take advice from the shopkeepers or the dealers or especially the synthetic pesticide dealers, the use of pesticide increases by 251%. So, so it is a very alarming. See how the dealers usually what they do try to sell their, or the shopkeepers sell the pesticides specially, and they do advise farmers without having proper knowledge which type of pesticides is used for specific insects. So, the farmers keep on buying the pesticides from the shopkeepers or the dealers, and dealers used to get the benefit out of this. So, that way there is a huge use of the pesticides if the farmers used to contact or take advice from the shopkeepers. If you see, if the pesticide use is in the charge of the woman, if woman is involved in the use of pesticides, so there is less use of pesticides, around 42% less use of synthetic pesticide if woman was in the charge of the pest control. And if the farmer has some knowledge of biopesticides, then there is also reduction in use of pesticides, around 30% less use of pesticides if farmers has some knowledge on biopesticides. So, he try to minimize the use of the synthetic pesticides. And this right hand side you can see the research information also generated collected, because when the farmers around 300 to 900 farmers they are interviewed. So, after application of the pesticide what type of symptoms or complaint they do have. So, these are the signs and symptoms and pesticide applicator in percentage, that is in Indian story, that in Assam. You can see the chest pain and burning feeling, around 38% farmers do complain. So, there is a chest pain or burning after immediately after application of the pesticide, probably they do not use the precaution measures and they have this problem. Similarly, the burning or the stinging or the itching of eyes, around 37% farmers do complain, and excessive sweating also complained by 37% farmers. Skin redness or white patches, so around 35% farmers. Excessive salivations also 35% farmers. So, these are the farmers their feelings about the problems after they do have the symptoms or the after applications of the synthetic pesticides. And this is from the other same type of study from the Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. You can see the percentage of pesticide applicator they have complaints of the headache or the fatigue or the dizziness or the excessive sweating and salivations, around 40% farmers they do complain such symptoms. Similarly, the blurred visions and the muscle twitching and the loss of appetite with the nausea or the chest discomforts and the tightness or the vomiting also is controlled by more than 20% farmers, they do complain such symptoms. And also there are some complaint, those are less, there is stomach cramps and the slow heartbeats, diarrhea, unconsciousness and unable to walk, also there are some complaints, though there are less among the farmers. That means it indicates, so there is a serious concern, because use of the synthetic pesticides are the insect in the crop field, which affect the farmers, and also of course there is as you discussed, there is a effect on the food quality, and also the environment gets contaminated, polluted. So, if you see the growth of the global pesticides or the synthetic pesticides after 2003. So, there is a decreasing in the growth of the synthetic pesticides from the $1,000,000 from $3,000,000,000, it is a slow decrease in the use of synthetic pesticides up to 2010. At the same time you can see, so there is a somehow increase in the biopesticides from 2003 to 2010 you can see. So, there is a increasing use of biopesticide, that means the biopesticides is also gaining market, there is a huge potential will be there. So, it is gaining, but it needs to increase, you have to replace the synthetic pesticides with the biopesticides. The present scenario of the use of biopesticide and synthetic pesticide in India, if you see usually the synthetic insecticide use the maximum, as you see is around the 60% is for insect controls, and similarly for the fungicides around 20% and herbicides 16%, biopesticide the maximum 4%. So, so though it is a very less use of biopesticides, so we need to increase this, because this has to be very effective in controlling pest and diseases, because the farmers they do not want to see that crops dying. So, in this we have to take proper management practices, proper maintenance practice and crop management technology, so there will be less incidence of pest and diseases, and which we can manage by using biopesticides, because biopesticides are the pesticides what are using, usually they are unable to kill the insects. Only thing what they can do, they can make the insects or the pests, they can make the as a unconscious, or they can paralyze only the insect pests, and they may not be able to kill the insect pests. So, to have a control, so there we will discuss in the crop management classes, when you go for the management for the different crops, when you go for the pesticide applications or the take the management control. So, what you should do, how frequently you should use the biopesticide, and what are the other options are there, so that you can have a effective control of the insect, pest and disease for the crops. And see the biopesticide market size. So, as you see it is also growing as a US $1 billion. So, you see from 2014 and the forecast up to 2024. So, there is a compound annual growth rate around 8.8%. So, it indicates that the forecast is there. So, there is a market. So, biopesticide market is as a market. So, this is growing and there is a scope opportunity. So, that means as we are moving towards organic farming, as we are becoming more and more health conscious and environmental awareness to have a quality food and to have a good quality water to drink, and also to have a good quality air to breathe, live a better environment, a green environment. In that case, the organic farming or the less use of pesticides, insecticides, that is a must. So, we need to move forwards, we need to eradicate the use of the chemical synthetic pesticides, and we want to at the same time we want to increase the productions of the crops, we want to maintain the productions and increase the production of the crops. So, biopesticide has a market that is around the 2024, it is expected $4 billion US dollar to the forecast of the biopesticides. So, so that means so there is a opportunity, biopesticide market is growing. So, there is a so organic farming and the use of the biopesticide or the cultural practices, how can minimize the pest and disease pressure on the crop. So, finally, I will say there a story here. There is a Silent Spring. Silent Spring is an environmental science book by Rachel Carson. So, this book was published on 27 September 1962 and it documented the adverse effect of the indiscriminate use of pesticides on the environment. Carson accused the chemical industry of spreading disinformation and public officials also of accepting industry claims unquestioningly. So, this is a Silent Spring, that book that published by this scientist Rachel Carson from US, and as you say, this came in 1962. This came because prior to that, in the late 1950, the Carson turned her attentions to conservations, especially environmental problems that she believed were caused by synthetic pesticides. So, she did use lot of research. Research started from 1940, and by the time 1950s, she was much aware that this there is a decreasing the environmental quality deteriorating, and that is due to the indiscriminate or the intensive use of the chemical or the synthetic pesticides. The result was this Silent Spring that came 1962. You can see that that same lady, the scientist, she also got he got cancer in 1960 as a breast cancer, and she took some time to improve her health conditions. By 1960, and the book was released, which brought the environmental concerns to the American public. And Silent Spring was met with fierce oppositions by chemical companies, but it spurred a reversal in national pesticide policy that led to nationwide ban on DDT for agricultural uses, and inspired an environmental movement that led to the creation of US environmental protections. So, so that is this lady scientist Rachel Carson, who did the work started from 1940, and they realized that this use of synthetic pesticides is the cause of deteriorating the environmental quality, and also there is a human health. So, due to that, there is a ban of DDT, that is a chlorinated hydrocarbon group of insecticides, it is highly persistent. So, that was banned from the US, and also due to because of this her effort, So, that is the creation of US environmental protection. And in 1996, a follow-up book Beyond Silent Spring, that is co-written by H. F. Van Emden and David Pickle was published. And in 2006, Silent Spring was named one of the 25 greatest science books of all times by the editors of Discover magazine. So, with this I can say that this is the use of the synthetic insecticides and pesticides should be put as minimum as possible, and there should be more and more use of the biopesticides and other methods of controlling the pest and diseases, so that we can have a better quality food while maintaining and improving production in a sustainable as a good environments. So, with this I thank you all.